Well, today, Israel and countries all over the world are mourning 1 year since Hamas's barbaric October 7th attacks. For more on this, let's bring in Aaron Cohen, IDF Special Ops veteran, and Kash Patel, former Deputy Director of National Intelligence. Gentlemen, great to see you. Aaron, I want to bring out a voice from the past in discussing this, because when you see what Israel has been doing since October 7th, I personally was reminded of something that a Japanese admiral said. He was the architect of the attack on Pearl Harbor. He said right afterwards, and I'm quoting here, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." I have a feeling a lot of people in Iran are thinking that right now, don't you?
David, I think that's a good quote right there. I think I wouldn't necessarily call it a sleeping giant or a bear. I would say that Iran has woken up a very deadly, quiet assassination group that is systematically going to dismantle the IRGC, the way we've been taking out leaders of Hezbollah, Ismail Haniyeh from Hamas. It's a little more deadly than the giant bear. We do things a little quieter. But yeah, I definitely think that Israel is in the pocket right now. David, this is where we do our best work. It's in the vanguard. It's what you don't see and what you don't hear about. All of a sudden blows up 2,500, 3,000 pagers. It's what takes off the heads of terrorists, and it's what allows us to be able to reach very far. And it's our intelligence network, David. We have some of the best intelligence targeters for flipping and recruiting informants and assets across the planet.
Well, we've seen it play out in the past several months. It's just extraordinary. Kash, but despite that, despite the incredible success of Israel going against the terrorists, and of course now going against Iran itself, every turn you have the Biden administration not just trying to hold them back, but sometimes actively trying to dismantle their efforts to undercut terrorism in the world, and particularly Iran. What do you make of that?
No, you're absolutely right. It's not negligence. It's an intentional dereliction of duty by the Harris-Biden administration. Let's rewind the tape and reset. 1 year ago today, and a few weeks more, Harris and Biden gave Iran $7 billion and opened up the global financial oil trade sector to them to make another $80 billion, and allowed all their foreign partners in to get in on the action, like the CCP and Russia. And so it's an intentional dereliction of duty to allow Iran back into the global scene and allow Iran to re-enter their nuclear deal. Remember, this program, architected by Obama and Biden and then pushed out by Harris, is what it is. It is the Iran nuclear deal. It's meant to give them a nuclear weapon on a timeline. Trump completely reversed that plan and suffocated Iran with sanctions and went to foreign leaders like Xi Jinping in China and said, if you trade with Iran, we, the United States, are not trading with you, and we, the United States, are also going to sanction mainland China. He had a global vision to take out the global sponsor of terrorism. And as my friend Aaron said, the Israelis' capabilities are exquisite. But unfortunately, they cannot, in my opinion, take on Iran as big of a machine as they have become alone. And that's why you see Kamala Harris not saying publicly that Israel is an ally of the United States of America.
But I don't think that we should underestimate the degree of damage that Israel has already done on Iran. And there is a growing sense that Iran is reaching a point of desperation, maybe not the likes of which we've seen since the maximum pressure campaign of Donald Trump. And Aaron, there was a former CENTCOM commander who was Frank McKenzie is his name, General Frank McKenzie. He was on television yesterday during one of the Sunday talk shows, and he said, talking about the Iranians and their sense of desperation, they view the election of President Trump as a direct threat to that regime's preservation. So have Iranians, the terrorists in Tehran, have they now picked a side and it's not Donald Trump?
Well, I'm with you, David, on that one. Let me talk to the general real quick. I believe the general said that Israel was incapable of doing this on his own. And with all due respect to Kash, Kash is very smart. And we've been on many times before. Israel may not have a choice. Right now, this administration is very radical in terms of its policies, and I believe that it's the D.C.'s policies or the White House's policies that have forced Israel to be able to go at this alone. But I want to say this: The Americans better start getting on board with how we're conducting operations, in special operations, in our counterterrorism capacity, our use of deception as a tool, our use of psychology as fear, because the one thing that people fear more in Iran than getting killed by Israel is the thought of getting killed by Israel. And we play that psychology and understand it well, and we'll continue to trim those bushes and dismantle those terror leaders. But again, if we have to go at it alone, David, we will. We don't have a choice, but the Americans need to start getting on board with how we're conducting operations, because they're talking to Israel, but the next target's going to be here in the United States, and everybody here knows that.
Right. Well, Kash, the tragedy of this, despite all of the other tragedies that have happened since October 7th, of course, including October 7th, is that so much of the efforts against Iran could have been done without a war. Had they been ill-funded the way they were during the Trump administration, they simply would not have had the cash to fund Hamas and, of course, Hezbollah to the extent that they have over the past 3.5, almost 4 years. So if Donald Trump is elected, imagine the efforts of the Israeli military and the Mossad combined with the maximum pressure of a new Trump administration against Iran.
Aaron's absolutely right. We should be side by side, and that can't happen unless we have an election that changes the commander-in-chief's seat. And when we are back in power with President Trump, you will see what we did with Israel and the prime minister and our special forces and their intel operation. We will be standing side by side with them. We will shut off the machinery that feeds money into Iran. We will no longer have 100 hostages still in captivity, Israeli and American and otherwise, by Hamas and Iran's Hezbollah mercenary forces. Donald Trump rescued 50 hostages and detainees. That's more than every president before him combined. And I hope he wins on November 5th. And Aaron's right. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel. And that is not what Kamala Harris is about. We need to bring home Americans and end this war, bring home Israelis, and make sure we stand by our #1 ally in Israel. And people need to wake up when it comes to November 5th. Donald Trump's the only choice.
Kash Patel, Aaron Cohen, great to see you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.